Right. So this is going to be non-spoilers. We're not going to talk spoilers. Don't worry about that, guys. It is just myself and Andre that has seen this. So the panel, you obviously please do, ask some questions if you can be bothered. I understand this is definitely not going to be for everyone. I'm aware. If I'll set the tone. If I wasn't doing this channel, there's no way in hell I would have gone out to watch this movie. I wouldn't have bothered, and I certainly wouldn't have bothered to go out at midnight. I've been awful sleep patterns for a couple of weeks now, so I was like, you know what, I might as well just go watch a bloody movie, get ahead of myself. Worst decision, but also possibly the best decision, because if I'm going at midnight and I'm going with presumably fans, I'm sure there's not many people like me that are going there that can't, genuinely can't be bothered. And I come out of that theatre and basically it's all just silence because people are a bit like, what the hell was that? At least I know my opinion's not, my opinion, which is quite similar to that, is not an outlier. So it was beneficial in that regard. But it is me and Andre that have seen this. I've sort of set the tone there real quick. I didn't think it was particularly amazing. Andre, what did you think of this movie?
I thought it was pretty amazing.
And
I like it.
And I don't think that
I'd be very surprised. This will be interesting because I remember you distinctly. You liked that atrocious
Exorcist thing,
film as well, didn't you? Oh,
yeah. Well, here's like the thing. Sometimes, because I sometimes have very off-kilter opinions, and I am not at all afraid of expressing opinions that differ from the flow. If there's a movie that someone in our community, as a general thing, dislike or like, and I have the polar opposite opinion, I am in no way shy about it. But I think that on this one, it is actually your opinion that is the outlier. And if it isn't, it will be it.
Yeah. So let me clarify then. Let me clarify, right? It's a good, it's good / better Marvel movie, right? Let me at least sort of clarify it. So I gave it like a 7.5 out of 10 for a Marvel movie. So it's a good 6 out of 10 as a basic film, right? Like it's slightly above average just as a normal film itself. It's fine. But as a Marvel movie, it's a better Marvel movie than what significantly what we've had for a long time. So although I sound a bit harsh on it, I think it's important to sort of, level that out. That's where my opinion sets. And I still stand by that. It is about a 7.5 out of 10 as a Marvel movie. It's certainly in my opinion, no grand, great, incredible film. It's above average. Certainly doesn't beat the original Deadpool. Still doesn't beat that. Doesn't beat anywhere near close to Logan either. But it is an above average Marvel movie.
Before you guys get stuck in, Nate, weren't you enthusiastic, or at least vaguely enthusiastic about the trailer? Do I remember that rightly? You thought it looked good?
I can't remember. I think the trailer looked maybe, but that's part of the issue that I've had with this film is the trailer oversells it. The trailer, in my eyes, is somewhat of a bit of a false advertisement for the film.
Really?
Yeah, but that's I felt like it was.
I think that the trailer for this is the most honest trailer since Guardians of the Galaxy, in that it gives you the tone of the movie. And what I was impressed with is that it doesn't give you everything about the story, so you still have loads of surprises and stuff like that when you actually see it. But I would compare the trailer for this to Guardians of the Galaxy in level of honesty. I certainly think that what you see in that trailer is what you get. No overselling and no underselling at all. Now, in terms of the movie, what I will say is that if you just look at it purely from a structural writing technical perspective, it's not the greatest of movies. It is not up there with the first Deadpool. I would say it's right on par with the second. But where it succeeds is in being an experience and a tribute. This is kind of like more of an emotional experience in a sense, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't. But But either way, like I just think that this movie is a joy and a celebration of much better days. And I also think
Did you think it was a celebration? They took the piss out of all the Fox
no,
stuff.
no. They took the piss. Well, I don't. They took what they took the piss of is what Marvel has been doing lately. That's what they took the piss of.
They're still going to be doing it.
Yeah, and what they celebrated is the glory of the past that is now over with Fox. That's what was being celebrated, all while taking the piss of Disney Marvel. I think this was a glorious balance there.
I'm really surprised that the take home for a lot of people has been, oh, it's a celebration, because they directly riff on Wolverine's costume, right? They directly make a joke out of the costume. It is the butt of a joke, a consistent joke. That's not a celebration. That's not. I
don't know why you get so hung up in that, because that's like one thing. That's one thing. But what they really properly scolded is what the MCU has been doing for the past 5 years. I mean, that was a brutal takedown. I don't know how you missed that.
No, I didn't think it was a brutal takedown at all. And the reason why I don't think it's a brutal takedown is they're going to keep doing it.
Like, well, I agree with that. I agree with that. This has always been my issue with this movie, that it's a fluke and not the sign of any kind of change to come. This has always been my problem with it. But still, what I appreciated with it is basically that it directly addressed some of the things that the MCU specifically has been doing for years now, and it roasted it.
Okay,
and
so
then of course, yeah.
I have a question for you. So you said it's kind of a celebration. Compare this then to the last Spider-Man. That was an event type thing.
That, in my opinion, night and day difference. Like, that's actually a pretty decent film. I enjoyed that film. That was a celebration, right? That's an enjoyable film as it is. Nah, this was not a celebration.
What I would say is that right now we have 3 post-Endgame Marvel movies which are worth anything, and that is Spider-Man No Way Home, it is Guardians of the Galaxy Part 3, and it's this one. And of the 3, Spider-Man No Way Home, for instance, that would be an example of a traditionally structured movie, right? It's written in a script technical way that you want a movie to be. And I think that this is where many people are going to have issue. Because of all the fourth wall breaking and meta commentary, Deadpool is not. It doesn't operate like a standard movie in this sense. So from a purely technical point of view, Spider-Man No Way Home is vastly superior. In terms of the emotional payback that you get from watching it, just like the sheer joy, depending on your preferences and knowledge of certain past movies, I would say this compares.
What? You think it compares to No Way Home? Goodness.
No, I was very specific there. In terms of pure writing and story structure, they're night and day different. And
no. You said the emotional thing.
In terms of the emotional payoff, this depends entirely on your preferences for past movies. Like, say, for instance, if you, to spoil No Way Home, like, say, for instance, that you didn't care for Andrew Garfield Spider-Man in the slightest, and you had no desire to ever see him return, right? Then you don't necessarily have any emotional reaction to seeing him come back. I know that I didn't. I had for Tobey Maguire, not so much for Andrew Garfield. Whereas for other characters that in past movies that may have resonated more with me, and this movie then gives them the Spider-Man No Way Home treatment, that resonates more with me.
Yeah. I'm very, very shocked. It's all genuinely. This is indicative of what the audience will will be.
I think so too. I think this is one that's going to divide the audience, because the dividing line here, I think, is all of those movies that this movie celebrates, to put it that way. How familiar are you with those? I think that's
because I'm very familiar with all of them. I don't even think it's that. I genuinely don't even think it's that. I think I think I'm unsure of what will make this film as divisive as it will be. It's certainly not anything to do with its the viewer's emotional connection to the Fox properties. I'm aware of all of the Fox movies. I watched them all.
Well, it's not just awareness. It's not that. It's they mean to you. Like, for instance, I'm aware of I like them, but they don't mean shit to me. But
this isn't a goodbye to that, because Logan was a goodbye to that. And this isn't a spoiler. The closing credits, not a spoiler, shows behind the scenes footage from, it's like a sizzle reel of all the behind the scenes footage of all of the Fox era stuff. That is a better goodbye. That is a better nostalgia grab than anything that was in this movie. Anything that was in this movie. That footage is that hits much harder home, because this film was not structured in a way, it's not written in a way which has any emotional weight, any emotional connection to any of those things. It's not structured in that way at all. It's structured that everything in there is just throwaway. Everything in it is throwaway.
Yeah, so you notice that what both of us are saying here is the structure. So that's kind of like the issue, because for you, that's the issue that breaks it. It's the structure. And what I'm also saying is that in terms of structure, this is very different because of the meta route that is taken with it. But because of the emotional payback that goes with it, I still had a tremendously fun time watching it. But that is the thing that's going to that I think is going to be a dividing line. And also look at some of the early reviews. Reading those, even the critics that aren't aware of it themselves, what they criticize is the writing technical structure.
Well, I mean, I could comment on a fully CGI Wolverine that looks like utter garbage. I could comment on throwaway villains that are utter garbage. I could comment on the fact that, narratively speaking, this is essentially 4 movies just smashed together. Pointless plot elements that should not have been in there, that serve absolutely no purpose whatsoever. They were literally just written and added in for, hey, this is cool, let's just throw this in.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is actually very, very lame.
Yeah. And again, that's a matter of how one values it. As to me, I wouldn't have minded some more of those things, but that's because I responded to them at a purely subjective level.
I'm very shocked, Andre.
Well, it's not the first time, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
No, I'll tell you what. The first time that shocked me was that bloody Exorcist film. My God. I don't think I'm ever going to get over that. I'm never going to get over that. Never getting over that. Well, there you go. Guys, again, I know this is just us talking about the film, but do you have any questions for either of us?
We need some tiebreakers, more people to see it.
I'm seeing it tonight.
Yeah, I'll see it tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So before we go live for EBN Cast, I'll have seen it at that point. My question is, I don't know if Andre, you or Mr. H were Deadpool comic book fans, but Deadpool was one of my favorite characters in the Marvel comics. Like when I was reading comics, Deadpool was one of the characters I read a lot. From that aspect of it, will those fans that read the comics, if you guys were fans of the comics, appreciate this film?
I'm gonna say I don't think so, because a lot of the stuff which is added from the comics is not necessarily purposeful, but you might enjoy it based on that as well. I don't know. Okay, there's a fine line between feeling like fan service and just, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So yeah,
Andre,
I honestly do not know enough about the Deadpool comics to make that distinction. Actually, I think that the fans of Wolverine comics, they certainly will be pleased. I think Deadpool. I haven't read enough Deadpool comics to be able to say.
All right, Michelle, you were going to ask something?
Yeah, I was going to ask. In my opinion, at least at least in my opinion, I think the Deadpool movie should be fun and funny. Is this movie fun and is it funny?
There was only one audible lol from my audience. Put it that way.
Dang.
There was only one audible laugh out loud moment from my audience.
By contrast, my audience were cheering out loud several times, and I don't think it was necessarily funny, but it was very, very fun.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fair enough.
And Paulie from Latino Slant and Chris Gore and Alan Ing, they both said the theater that they went and saw it in were hyped and cheering and excited and laughing as well. That's why I was so surprised by your review, Mr. H.
Well, look, us steely Brits. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He can attest, right? Us steely Brits. All right, we are a people of few words and fewer laughs here and there.
And also, this movie started at midnight, and that's a whole hour after the pubs close, isn't it?
I've no idea. It's been a long time since I've been down a pub. It just, it's I don't know. It's there definitely is geographical. There will certainly be a geographical humor element for sure. Not necessarily how much relevancy that has right there here because of Andre seemingly enjoyed it, and Al in the chat as well. He's saying his experience was similar to Andre's, but I would say no matter where you sit on this film, whether you love it or hate it, it's just an above average Marvel movie currently in my eyes. It will be incredibly divisive. You will see that this opening week, which actually might be beneficial for it, in fairness, that genuinely might be beneficial for it because it could be so divisive that it makes people go that are undecided about going to watch it just out of curiosity because they're like, oh well, I've got to go see it for myself.
Good point. Yeah.
So I still stand by what I said on what was it, Tuesday's stream, I think, podcast, where I said I think this will do about $1 billion, and that'll be about it. I think it'll sort of taper off from there. To be fair. So,
did you think it was better than the second one?
That's what I was going to ask too.
About the same.
Okay.
About the same. Genuinely about
I
the
didn't really
same.
care for the second one very much.
Yeah, it was
neither
okay.
did
I loved the first one though. First Deadpool, like
I
top
enjoyed the
notch.
first one.
The second one, I was like,
Enjoyed the
it's all right.
$1 billion is a success, though, surely, by any measure.
No.
Well, it has to get to that billion first. It hasn't gotten there yet.
Not this
Let's say
movie.
it does, though. Is that? I mean, it's not an abject failure, though. $1 billion.
We don't know quite how much money they spent on it. If they spent what people are thinking, which is about $300 to $350 million, you're looking at $600 to $700 million to break even just on the production budget. They've done a huge marketing push for this as well.
There's no
above
telling what they
anything that
spent
they've
in
done
marketing
at all recently. So you're looking at bare minimum of 100 million to 150, maybe even more than that on the marketing. So you've got to recoup that as well. So
I can guarantee you that the internal success threshold for that movie is $1 billion. If this movie makes $998 million, that'll be considered a disappointment.
Oh, right,
From this
okay.
one, they want $1 billion.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Screen Rant, which they're not really all that accurate, was reported that from what they're hearing, that they spent $200 million on this.
Nope, way more than that.
I was getting ready to say it's got to be more than that.
Way more.
This movie, post-global crisis era of Hollywood, is reportedly got the second largest Marvel budget of any film since that point.
So yeah,
Since
$1 billion.
Endgame.
Yeah. And on this one, they actually want to earn money. So at $1 billion, it's gonna make money. But more importantly, this one has to win over the audience after a series of flops and the whole of Marvel being under threat. So the requirements for this one are high. And we'll see how it goes over the weekend, because I think that Mr. H, you are right that there's going to be a divisive reaction over this one because of the structure. In terms of your question, I would say that this one is better than Part 2. I enjoyed this a hell of a lot more than Part 2. It's certainly much more fun than Part 2. Part 1 is still the better movie.
All right.
Yeah,
All
by
right, well,
next Tuesday, we'll
Nope.
all have seen it, and
That's
we'll be able to.
we'll have the
all give our
numbers as
thoughts
well,
and
actually.
opinions.
Is there
Possibly with the
anybody out
exception of
there?
Phil.
Is there anybody out there in this sphere that feels like me that I'm going to ruin any goodwill I might have had with your audience,
Right.
mate, and maybe lose friends on this panel? Is there anyone else out there that thinks the entire Marvel and DC universes are entirely gay and lame and didn't read comics at all, went out and played football when you was a kid? Is there anybody?
Well, so
No?
I'm not a Marvel or DC fan. I was
2000
I
AD,
used to read-
Judge Dredd and Rogue Trooper all the way, right? I mean,
Yeah, absolutely. And Durham Red. Don't forget Durham Red. Come on now. All right.
Where the hell is our Dread cinematic universe? Because that's what I want.
Well, yeah. So I don't care about these at all. I've enjoyed some of the movies, but I don't care about them, and I'm definitely, I want new things. Like, give me sword and sorcery, or sword and sandal. That's that type of deal, or high concept sci-fi like that. I want a resurgence on these types of things.
Romulus,
Okay,
right around the corner.
I cannot wait for that. But let me two things. I was gonna be quiet till you guys were done, and then say what I was gonna say. I don't have high hopes for this film, and I never did. I didn't think it was going to perform very well. I will be seeing it later, which means I'll be giving it a review. I'll have a follow-up question when I'm done with that. The second part of this is this. When I see the film today, I'm seeing it with two normies. So I will have two normie opinions to go along with my own. So I will be able to query them, find out what they saw, think, believed, and felt about the film, and I'll be able to, kind of have that inform everything else. Not just my review, but my opinion of what the normal audience is going to see. I think that perspective is something I need to consider more frequently when I go and watch a film, because oftentimes I'm like, oh, well, this is blatantly misandric, so it's going to suck. And these are all the things that are happening in it. And then I make my Barbie video, and I make my other Barbie video, and I make my review after I see the film, and I get destroyed in the comments. So I'm gonna have to be a little more cognizant of that potential as well. Not that I care. I mean, that's engagement, so roast away. But
I was about to say, just have your opinion. If people disagree with it, let them roast you for it. That's what I do.
Which I'm fine. But and then
I get lambasted in the comments all the time. I get torn apart in my my Deadpool and Wolverine.
And just a quick query, because since there's only two of us here that have seen this, and this is the thing I want to know: does this movie save the MCU, or does it not do the MCU any favors at all, considering what they have on the horizon?
We're going to round out this segment quickly, but I will say, no, it fundamentally doesn't save the MCU. It was never going to save the MCU anyway. It can't, because it's an isolated movie. It's an isolated tone. It's isolated in the fact that it's R-rated. Not only that, so not a spoiler at all, the post-credit scene has absolutely no bearing on anything at all moving forwards remotely. It's just a reference to something previous in the movie, which is fundamentally actually a really, really bad idea that Marvel chose to do that. Really, really, really bad idea. Because if they were smart, because this movie is going to get more eyes on it than, say, The Thunderbolts, you'd use this movie.
I don't know why that movie's even being made, but
no idea. But you would use this movie to hype up the rest of what's going to come, wouldn't you? You'd use this movie to tease something better, and they didn't. So no, it absolutely has not saved the MCU. It was never going to.
So it's like an isolated one and done.
Yeah, it's a one and done. But also, not only that, is that they've screwed the pooch on a wasted opportunity to hype something up, which they should have done, and they didn't. Andre, do you want to quickly chime in before we move on?
No, you are entirely right. This has no bearing on the MCU whatsoever. Let's put it that way. And it also won't save anything, because unfortunately, as I've been saying for months now, this is a fluke. And after this movie, it is straight back to Team Pikey and all of their bullshit, starting with Captain America 4, continuing with Thunderbolts, a movie that never ever should have been made. And before that, on Disney Plus, we have more lesbian witches in Agatha all along. This can't save anything, and it's not really trying.
Well, do you think them not putting something to hype in, does it? I think that kind of speaks to the state of the MCU. They don't have anything to hype. Like, what are you going to hype? Brave New World?
They think they have something hypeable. This is the problem.
Yeah.
I did have a quick question for Bo. Bo, did you see Captain America Winter Soldier?
I don't think so.
When
did that come out? How long ago did that come out?
2014.
10 years ago.
Yeah, 2014, 10 years ago. So
maybe was that when he was really skinny and then they hyped him up and suddenly he was tall and muscly? Was it that one?
No, that was the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. So Captain America Winter Soldier, even if you're not really a comic book or Marvel guy, just watch that movie by itself. I guarantee you you're gonna like it. It's my favorite Marvel because it's more like almost sort of like a James Bond. Almost
it's a spy thriller. It's actually worth your time, Bo. To be fair, it's not bad.
No, I mean, to be completely honest, I do like some Marvel films. Some of them are all right films. Just don't get carried away by them. It's just fiction after all. But then I'm sort of right on the outer limit of being into that whole genre anyway. Like Nate said, give me something more like Swords and Sandals or sort of hard sci-fi or something. So anyway, that's just me.
Excellent. Well, what we'll do, we'll move on